Hello friends, what are we going to learn in this video? Implementation of TypeScript. As you can see, localhost colon 5173 is a port number. Here I have got an HTML that would take an input from the user. Currently I did not give any input, so it is showing no task yet. Let me give an input like walk, to go for a walk, to go for a walk, which I hardly do. Click add task. The moment I do, you get to see a pop-up in the form of a dialog box where it is showing that the message which I have given followed by two buttons. Well, can I insert another instance? Of course. We'll go to office and I click this. Yes, here it too comes. We'll go to office. We'll do work out there, and that to also get added. So how come this is working and it is all done using TypeScript? That's what we are going to explore right over here. So let's move on first. How did I create this project? With the help of Vite. So npm create Vite @latest followed by whatever project name you want, you can give it. So I have given a project name called my-to-do. Once you fire this command, the project will be created. Now you get inside the project by the command called cd my-to-do, and then you have to install the dependencies via the package.json with the help of the command npm install. And finally you have to start your development server by the command called run npm run dev. Like the development server is running right over here. If I want, I can stop it. Let me clear the thing, and then again I will write npm run dev, and that's what it happens, and that's how we get to the following URL as a local. Okay, good to go now. Fine. So once you create the project using the Vite, what you will be getting? Initially you will be getting index.html file, and inside the source you would be getting your TypeScript. Like I have created a file called todo.ts. That's what you will be getting, and all the configuration regarding the TypeScript will be saved inside this tsconfig.json. We are right now using the ES6 module. ES6 module we are using. As you can see, the target version is ES6 2022, but the one which we are using is, we are using the ES model right over here. And for that reason, if you look at my HTML code, if you look right over here, we have embed the type module. The reason why we did this is, since we are writing HTML, so browser would expect the normal script, but that's not what we are going to do. We are going to embed TypeScript over here. For that reason, we have written TypeScript equals to module, type equals to module. So this will make the browser realize that you're working on ES6 and following model onward. Okay, and the path is inside the src folder. So the current directory where my folder is present, inside that I have a file called todo.ts. That's what I'm targeting. Okay, great. So let's see what is there inside this. Very simple. I have created a form tag. As you can see, I give a name to the form, to do forms, and it has a label and it has a text box that is going to take input from the user. Then idea is task, and it has a button. So once the user clicks on the submit button, the form is going to be submitted, and eventually the script is going to be called, right? So let's move on to the script to see what exactly is right over here. Here are we present. So if I scroll up right at the very beginning, we will see there are two classes out there. Okay, and one more thing, since I'm using the ES6 module in the form of module, so for that reason we can use the following attribute: import export. Otherwise it would have not been possible. So what are we doing? The moment when the page is getting loaded, the index.html, so as I get into this, so if I want to show you, so as the browser is running, and if I hit the page will be getting loaded. So once the page gets loaded, immediately what happened, the DOM content, so document.add-event-listener, the DOM content loaded gets loaded right at that very moment. Okay, so once the user fills the form and click on submit button, now what happens? Well, at that point of time, we know that there is a form. The form has following name, and even the browser also knows that there is a form. but how do I make my TypeScript compiler aware about this? So for that reason, what are we doing is that we are mentioning document.form to named item. So the item that is named is to do form, and let's consider that to be an HTML form element with the help of the as keyword. So you're telling the TypeScript compiler that treat this particular DOM element as a HTML form element. So that's the reason why you have mentioned this. So thereafter the TypeScript compiler will get to know that this reference is actually of type HTML form element. Okay, great, fine. Now similarly, I also have got one input type text box whose ID is task. The same thing what I'm telling is that document.get element by ID. The ID name is called task. I'm telling the TypeScript compiler that consider this to be of type HTML input element. As we know, the TypeScript follows the object-oriented programming paradigm, so for that reason these are all represent the form of class. So HTML input element, so that means the task input according to the HTML compiler, it is of type, or it belongs to the instance of the class called HTML input element. Got it? Okay, great. So now what we are going to do, this is very important. Well, I'm going to create an instance of the class to do app, and I write over here to do app. So I'm giving a call to the in the class, and it has a parameter. I've given the name of the parameter to do. It's just a string. For the time being, let's consider this is just a string. Yeah, of course the string will have some special meaning. Later on you will get to know why did I write this, but for the time being just consider that this is a string that I'm passing to this particular class constructor. So right over here it will come and it will accept that input. Let me close all this thing so that it doesn't create any distraction. So it would come and it would get stored inside this particular reference, which is of type string, because I'm passing a simple string, isn't it? I'm just passing simple string, so that string gets stored right over here. Now what I'm going to do is that I'm giving a call to again document.get element by ID, and whatever variable I have passed over here, by that variable inside that we have this particular string called to-do list. Now what this to-do list is all about, if you come to my HTML, you will find that there is an empty div tag by the name called to-do list. So that's what I was passing as a string content right over here, which eventually came to this variable. So when the variable is saying document.get element by ID, the variable name, it is basically pointing to this particular DOM, and I'm telling the TypeScript compiler that consider this to be an HTML div element. So if you notice over here, the following class is HTML form element, then comes HTML input element, and now it is HTML div element. So depending upon different DOM type, the respective classes are present in context to TypeScript, and the reference variable got initialized right over here. Okay, great. And now we are going to give a call to a function called render that actually belongs to this particular class itself. So the object is giving a call to the renders, and since it is coming from the class itself, not outside the class, so for that reason this render function is private. Okay, whereas on the other hand, the add task or toggle task or delete task, they would be called out of this class through this particular add event listener method. So for that reason these access specifiers are of type public. So keep it in mind, as we know that inside object-oriented programming we do have access specifier. So for that reason, if you call someone from outside the class, it should have a public access specifier, and internally if you call, then we can use it as a private, and that's what I have used it. So what is there inside this particular function? Because the moment we give a call to the constructor, automatically this function should get executed. So let's get into it and let's see what is there at this point of time. Well, if you look over here, and one more thing, as the class gets created, or as we create an instance of the class, what property the class have? Well, the class has a property called to do. This to do is this particular class, so I'm creating an object of the to do class type. And what is there inside the to do? It has got two variables. One is called task, and the other one is called completed. So the task is of type string and the completed is of type boolean. We'll explore this function, don't worry about that. And that's what this particular class property consists of. So I'm creating an array of object of this particular to do class. So inside the constructor, as you can see over here, we have got task and we have got the boolean value false. So these are the two properties that the class holds. So that means I am creating an array of to do. So that means later on when we create object, those object will have the following two properties. Okay, so write down the to do array is actually empty. as you can see over here, an empty array. Great. So now we are giving a call to this dot render, so the control will jump from here and will come over here, right? If you can see over here, the render function is defined at two different classes. Even to do also has got a render, and to do app has also got render, but this is when you are giving a call to this, that means the object of the to do app is giving a call to render, so automatically the control will come right over here and it will execute the method. So let's see what the method is all about. Well, at first, as just now I said, that this particular array would be empty initially, so for that reason the to_do.length is equal to 0. So that means there is no object present inside the array, hence you will be seeing no task yet and one above, so there is no task yet. So for that reason, when you come to this particular if you load it for the first time, you get to see no task yet. That's what coming from this very line, right? Because the task is not, then the control returns from here. So let me also terminate from here. Let the array have an object, then I will come back once again, and at that point of time this condition will not be true, rather will execute this portion. So let's come back over here. So that means we have created the object. Oh, one more thing I would like to tell you is that this particular variable which I have taken, and if you look over here, this is of type HTML div element. I have mentioned this property over here as well, that there will be a variable by this name which is of type HTML div element, and later on you will find that this variable is going to hold this particular string, which is basically the ID of the empty div tag. Okay, great. And over there the data will actually be shown. So now what we need to do, we have to track this particular button, and this button is present inside the form tag. So for that reason, I'm saying that form.addEventListener, what event is going to be the submit event, because the button is of type submit. So button is of type submit, so when the user will submit by clicking on the button, so we're submitting the form, at that point of time this particular event listener gets fired. So we can see over here we have an arrow function, and the arrow function is passing an event as a parameter so that the page does not get loaded as we click on the button. So this is the default behavior. So we are restricting the default behavior, that is we are preventing the page from getting loaded, right? As we click over here, as we take a data over here, like well, get up early, which I can't do as it's pretty late at this point of time. So I click on the add. So the moment I will do that, the page does not get loaded, and that's all happening because of my event.prevent default, e.prevent default, and that was the reason why I did this, prevent default. Okay, so it prevents the default behavior of the page getting loaded. Now what we are going to do, we are going to pick up the input that the user has given from the text box, which has been pointed by the task. As you can see over here, the task is the following text box. Whatever input I have given, that will be extracted and will store inside of the string variable called task. And I'm just going to see whether there is any data inside the task or not. If it is blank, then it will return, but of course I will give the data, so naturally that will not be blank. So now what happens? Well, I've already created the instance of my to do app, so I will give a call to this particular object, and the class has a method called add task. And what I'm going to pass, a string that the user has given as input, and which is stored inside this variable. So add task is the method, belongs to this particular class. Whatever input user has given, that got stored inside this particular argument, right? So let me expand this add task to show you what it is there. Well, I already created this particular empty array of type to do, so I can accept the input and I create an object of the type to do, because ultimately it's going to be stored inside the array of type to do. So I am giving a call to the constructor. So new to do within bracket task will give a call to the constructor, and I'm passing the string which our user has given initially in the text box. As we saw already over here, user gave the input, so whatever user will give, that what I'm passing right over here. So whatever I'm passing, and that will actually come over here, and that will assign to this particular string variable, and by default is of type false. So that's how the object gets created, and that object has been pushed inside the empty array of type to do. And after pushing that data, and now again I'm going to give a call to the render function, but this time the array already have some data, right? And for that reason, when it comes over here, this if condition is not been true, because the length is no longer 0. So now we will see what is there inside this part. Well, inside I'm tracking this particular to do array that belongs to this particular class property. So this dot to do, I want to iterate over all the object that the user will be storing. So for that reason, I give a call to the map function, Well, map will pick up one item from the array and will pass to this particular reference variable called to do, and while passing that, what is the index of that particular object. So it will start with 0 index followed by 1, then 2, and so on and so forth. So that's what I'm storing inside the I. And now what I'm going to do, well, I'm going to give a call to the render function, and this function render is not of this one because it is coming from to do, which is coming from the to do class. So I'm going to give a call to this particular render function. Now see over here, this render is getting called from another class, so for that reason the access specifier is public over here, because you are calling the function of a particular class from another class. So for that reason it has to be public. If had this been private, this will not work. So you're giving a call to the render function. What this render will do, this will create such a beautiful looking dialog box where this message will be shown followed by these two buttons. So that's what is happening right over here. So let's come to the render function, and as I said already, the map will return the index of the object that been picked up from the array. That index I'm passing because later on, as you can see right over here, I have a button so that I can identify which particular DOM element it is, so that I can delete it later on. So I need the index to be sent off, and that index is coming right over here. So let me expand this to show you how this particular element is getting generated. So you can see over here that after you executed this particular function, it's going to return the entire string because it is there in the backtick. So the backtick operator is going to hold, or backtick symbol is going to hold your HTML code, and that's considered as a string, so which you are returning back, and that entire thing will come back and will get stored inside the map. In this way it will keep on iterating, and while it iterates over each object, and since it is going to return, and we know the map is going to return an array, so at 0 index this entire string will be there followed by a comma, then comes the 1 index, this entire string will be there followed by a comma, then at the 2 index this string will be there. In this way, in each index there will be following string, and the index has been differentiated from a comma. So that means what, it returns an array, and in each index we have got this entire stuff. So now what we are going to do is that we have to return the whole thing to this particular div element. So for that reason I'm giving a call to join, so that it removes all the comma that was there as a separator for each of the index element, and finally we get a complete long string, and that long string is being forwarded to the list div, which I have already found over here. That means I'm talking about this, and eventually the entire box gets created. So if I don't give a call, if I don't call this particular join, it will return an array, but I don't want to return an array. I want to return one single string, and inside that string we have got this HTML tag. So once I pass it to the inner HTML of this div, it will render this entire HTML tag, and eventually we will be getting the entire box, which we can see right over here, this box what is coming over here. So that's what will be reflected. So if you come over here, you will see that I have given a call to the bootstrap card with the margin bottom 2. We have given a shed, and I wanted to align this like the line followed by the button, and for that reason what I did, there are two buttons over here. So this is one button, this is another button. So if you can see over here, well, this work has not yet been completed. I'm still going to complete this work. So if you can see over here, there are two buttons are there, and for that reason I aligned them in a form of a flex, so that they can be displayed right over here. So you can see this has been displayed right over here. Let me, oh, I removed something. Let me get back to this again. I remove by mistake, just a second, let me undo this, and it was like this, yeah. And over here I have, now it's been, so let me reload this. Did I remove something? Let me see. The button over here is this. I don't find any mistake right over here. Return this, yeah. Oh, sorry, there's no task. So let me enter the task. I thought that I have removed something. No, it's all fine. Work, yeah. Now it's working perfectly fine. So what I did was all fine. So I could have like this. There's a two button over here side by side. For that reason, we have written that we have given a call to the flex, and we have given the space in between, and the item is at the center, and following by these two buttons. So we'll get to this button and I will tell you about how to perform the delete operation. The delete operation is not yet done. I'm just showing this entire thing at this point of time just to show you the box part and the text that appears right over there. So as I said, that this entire thing will be generated and it will return back, and finally it will be get stored right over here, and eventually this thing will be displayed. So that means the render function has been called each time we are inserting a new element right after we have done that, right? So how exactly it's working? So here the input has been taken, the input has a data, and we give a call to the add task. The add task did all this enter operation which we just now discussed, and after that we reset the form so that the input which I have given the text box, that should be clear, and I put the cursor right on that particular text box so that I can insert the new item. So let me run the code once again to show you how exactly this is working. And here it comes. And let me run the code again. So as you can see, initially this is the dialog box. So if I enter the walking is good, and I click on this, so the moment I do that, so what we can see right over here is, so I added this element, it picked up the data, it gave a call to the add task, the control came to that task, the new object got pushed inside the array, and the array is of type to do, and then we give a call to this dot render, and this dot render is coming from this particular class. If you see over here, the render is there, and the render is just checking whether the content is there or not. If the array did not have any object, then this message will be there, and if the object is there, and then this particular wonderful function has been done where it has to pick up one object at a time from my array list, and then it will be forwarded to the class called to do, where it is actually creating an backtick operator is been called for creating the HTML tag. And this is something which is very challenging, where I was actually stuck for a long span of time, because we have to create the HTML tag on the fly, so that the DOM element get rendered at the runtime. So you can say this is like a dynamically you're creating the DOM based on the object that you are creating. So this entire thing will be returned, and this return will happen for each of the object that exists inside this particular array list. So at the end we will return, the map is going to return an array, and in each index of the array this particular string will be there. But I need to give a call to the join, because ultimately I have to extract all the index from the array and create one single string, and that string will be rendered right over here. And because of that reason we are able to see such a stunning looking text box, isn't it? And well, I will continue with the delete. So delete will be my next task. So I will be working on the delete, and until then what we can find out is that everything is working pretty well. So let's end the video over here, and you please give a look on this, and next time what I will be working is that how will I implement, like I have to go for the click, because over here as you can see there are two buttons are there, done and delete. I have to make them in action, which is not working. But until now one thing got very clear is that how exactly typecasting, I mean the transformation of the DOM to the TypeScript format in the form of HTML form, HTML input element, and even HTML div, the one which we have been working over here. Each of this is there. HTML div is over here. If you come over here, HTML div element is there. So that's how the browser div tag or the browser form tag need to be referred to the TypeScript compiler on basis of the class, so that it can identify each of this DOM element. Okay, so that's all from this video presentation. In my next video I will be talking about how do we perform the delete task and the task completion operation that will be reflected right over there, and then you will understand that why did I give a call to this ternary operator. Why did I call this? So why did I even call this one as well? So that's the time when it will be clear. Fine. So that's all from this video. Thank you very much.